Hey guys, I'm Alex. I'm with Tezos, and probably somebody of you know me. To start with this, I first would like to understand how much kind of technical knowledge each one of has already. So, who of you is actually a baker in Tezos? Okay. Who of you has kind of used the wallet in Tezos and bought maybe some Tezos or used it already? Okay, good. So I kind of get the level. This talk will be a little bit more high level. I try not to be as technical. I try to convey the idea behind on-chain governance in Tezos, and especially how it's structured and what the different players in the ecosystem usually will do or have to do at each specific step in this governance process. First of all, it's probably good to talk about why do we need governance at all. So why do some chains have kind of a structured governance and other chains don't have a governance? Actually, that's not true. Every blockchain has some sort of a governance. When you look at Bitcoin, the governance is usually done by the developer team. They talk about new features, they talk about amendments to their own protocol. There's year-long discussions, and sometimes people cannot agree on a certain specific feature and a certain upgrade. And what happens in the worst case is that the big single group splits into two, and each side of the split takes a part of the chain with them, or the chain with them, and that's what we call hard fork. And in the end, then there is two chains. You have kind of two separate, different assets, which used to be the same before, but they are now different, and that usually brings a lot of disruption to the ecosystem, because many people who are using this, maybe even for their businesses, don't really know what to do with these kind of new chains. Which one to follow, which one's the real chain, which one has value, which one doesn't. So that's kind of disruptive and counterproductive to the system. And that's why Tezos contains kind of a new system. The idea behind Tezos is that it's a chain where people can build businesses on top. Businesses that will last for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. So the assets these businesses will put on-chain and manage on-chain, they have to be around. And we really can't afford large-scale disruptions in that space. And that's why Tezos has a more formalized process for managing upgrades, and in this sense upgrades mean upgrades to the core rules of the blockchain. This is what basically everybody calls consensus. So all the nodes, all the operators, everybody in the ecosystem agrees on a certain set of rules. That's what's called the consensus. And every time these rules change, the consensus changes, there needs to be a software upgrade. And these software upgrades, they need to be structured, and they need to be rolled out. Everybody has to kind of download new software, maybe even compile the new software, and then run the new software to participate, to continue to participate. So, and in Tezos, we have a system that ensures fairness, because it brings in all the stakeholders that are relevant in the system into kind of a formal process where they can vote on upgrades. And the winning vote, or the upgrade that wins the vote, will then be activated, and this will then be the new set of rules going forward. So that's the idea, and it's supposed to discourage forks, but it's also supposed to encourage people to talk about the new upgrade and really discuss things, whether this is good or bad, and give this as feedback to the protocol developers who develop these upgrades. So how does it work? First, some terms. For those of you who are new to Tezos, they might sound a little bit strange. For the others, they got used to it already. So first of all, who's eligible to vote? So who can vote on Tezos? This is a specific set of people in Tezos. Those are the validating nodes. They are called bakers. So those are the guys who create new blocks and verify that all transactions are correct. These bakers, they have voting rights, and the amount of rights they have depends on how much stake they have in the system. So stake is an amount of coins they put up as kind of a stake. They can lose it if they do something bad. And other people in the system who are kind of regular investors, who also hold coins, there is this concept that with each coin in Tezos, a right to vote and a right to create new blocks is connected. And these rights, they can be delegated away to other people, especially to these people who do the staking to the bakers. So the entire stake in Tezos, kind of directed to the bakers, defines how much votes each of these bakers has in the system. Timing in Tezos is more or less structured by the blockchain. So there is certain periods on the blockchain that are fixed in length in terms of blocks. It's kind of almost fixed in length of time. Depends how fast the blockchain generates new blocks. But these are kind of, the timing is pre-made, and each kind of epoch for voting is structured in 4 different periods, which we'll look into a little bit more closer in the next slides. And along this voting epoch, there is 3 times each baker can vote on something. No? I go into detail what it is. All these votes on Tezos are open and public. So every time a baker votes, they have to create a transaction on the chain and put in their vote. So everybody can see that vote. So that's why it's open. It's not a secret vote like what we do when we vote for governments, but it's an open vote, so everybody can also control who is voting for what. It might be good, might be not good. We don't get into detail about this right now. And these votes, they count only under certain circumstances. So there has to be a quorum reached, like a certain number of votes that have to be cast for the vote to count. And for some of the votes, there has to be a supermajority who has to be for a certain proposal. If there are not enough people for a certain proposal, the proposal is not activated later on. So the entire process looks like this. It's different steps. So the formal steps are in the center. They have specific names. I go into detail a little bit later. Usually one of these small steps takes around 23 days. In protocol terms, this is 8 cycles, a number of blocks, certainly. So altogether, this process takes about 91 days. But practically, there's a little bit more to the voting, and this is not formalized on the blockchain, but this is kind of in real life. What happens? There is always a preparation period where developers develop a new protocol amendment. They have to test it, they have to convince the community that it's maybe a good thing, so they have to do a little bit of marketing. There's a lot of discussions going on. This is the preparation phase. That takes usually weeks or months until the proposal is ready to be kind of put up as a new proposal that can be voted on. And if a new proposal gets activated at the end, there is usually some period in the end where cleanups need to happen, where people need to look for their software, maybe even upgrade software, and we get into this as well. So let's jump right in the preparation phase. The guys who are responsible for doing certain things, they are always here in bold, and the rest is usually what they do in that specific phase. So the core devs usually prepare new protocol amendments, the core devs announce the updates, and they also run public testnets to test their new software. These testnets are public so that everybody can look into the upgrades, what's coming. Tool developers need this. Regular users might be interested to see the progress that's going on. The community usually already starts to discuss certain things, but it's only a very small group of people that are very, very deeply interested, because this is very, very far ahead, like 3, 4, 5 months ahead of time. People who are really active in the normal mainnet, especially the bakers, they should have an incentive to also participate in the testnets. Right now, there is no economic incentive to do this. Other blockchains have such an economic incentive, Tezos doesn't have it. So for Tezos, it's mainly kind of the community and kind of this holding together and kind of playing with new technology. That's the core incentive for bakers to participate here. But maybe there will come a change in the future. Users are only invited to observe here. In the next phase, which is kind of the first formal voting phase, that will be open at a specific time, and it is possible for anybody or say for every baker, to inject or announce a new protocol proposal. Everybody can do this. So the software is there, usually put out by the developers. Every baker can take kind of software and publish a hash of basically the changes to the blockchain, and then the voting actually really starts. There can be different proposals being kind of sent in this phase, up to 20. And people who vote, like the bakers who vote, they can vote on some of these. So maybe there was one, like the red proposal was published quite early, but maybe this was not liked as much, it didn't have so many good features, or maybe this was a buggy proposal and there was kind of an update published later on. And the green proposal then got more votes, which means the green proposal will, in the first round, win and kind of continue to the next voting round. The winner is always automatically selected by the blockchain. So the blockchain basically counts the votes that have been cast on this proposal and checks if the quorum was met. Right now, since Babylon is a kind of a 5% quorum in this phase, then this new proposal goes on. If there is a draw, like two proposals got the exact same number of votes, this vote fails, and anytime something fails here, we will go back kind of to the beginning of the voting cycle. So assuming we have a winning proposal, and we automatically jump into the next phase. And the next phase is called voting, a testing vote, meaning that bakers can vote on this whether to test this proposal or not. That's kind of a pre-vote to activate it. When we have a positive outcome here, it is highly likely that this protocol will also later be activated going forward. But it's just a high likelihood. And in this specific case, bakers, they will send another type of transaction, like a ballot transaction. They can vote yes, no, or pass here. In the first phase, they could only upvote one or another or multiple proposals, but here they can really say, yes, I want it, or no, I don't want it, or I'm undecided. So everybody is really encouraged to participate in this process. This only continues if the number of yes votes is more than 80% than the number of no votes. The pass votes don't count here, so we only have no and yes against each other, and it has to be 80% yes. And then we continue. It's important that bakers should already upgrade their software, because at the end of this voting period, the blockchain in the next phase will immediately kind of fork off a test chain internally, and when you have not upgraded, your node might crash, because they just don't know what the next kind of, what they should do here, because the code does not exist. And the tool developers, like we as a block explorer, we are kind of highly encouraged to already look into the proposal and check the changes and update our software, because we know that maybe in 42 days, kind of a new proposal will be active, and we have only 42 days left to update. So everybody who implements wallets and stuff should do this. Right now, most of the people don't really do this. Right now, everybody is waiting until the very, very last minute. And so we see a lot of disruptions right now. But these things will improve with kind of more values and more businesses putting things on top of the blockchain. So let's jump into the next phase. The next phase is actually not a real voting phase, so nobody can vote there. The only thing that happens is that at the beginning of the phase, the blockchain kind of tries out this new proposal. So what it does is it forks off a new blockchain, a side chain, from the current state, and just checks if the migration from the old blockchain to the new blockchain is actually working or not. So this new chain only runs for a couple of days, I think it's only 2 days. And this is, right now, there's very, very little insight into this. I guess the core devs have some insight, but we as a block explorer don't support this test chain yet. So really nobody can really look into this that much. We will going forward, but that's a little bit of more work that will come in 2020. At least the tool developers should now really be kind of alarmed that there will be a new proposal coming and they should upgrade. Again, nobody really does it up to now. they wait until here. So this is the last phase, and the last phase, after all the tests have maybe passed, hopefully, and everybody is certain that this new protocol works, then there is another vote. And in this vote, people can again vote yes or no or pass. And if everybody is confident that this is kind of the new thing to go, and it's stable and reliable, then everybody would vote yes. And usually that's the case, what's happening. So every proposal that went into this phase got kind of voted for in the last phase. Right now, really all the developers who build tools on top should update, because at the end here, the blockchain will switch to the new protocol. And this might disrupt tools that have not upgraded yet. But again, it happened. So the fifth phase is actually kind of, so this is kind of the most important point, and everybody is kind of all hands on deck, and people are very kind of focused on what's going on in the blockchain. Usually there is tiny disruptions and some bugs who have not been really found before might happen, and there's some hot fixes going on. So everybody really needs to be aware at this point in time. And usually all the bakers are. I shouldn't say all, kind of the big bakers are, certainly many who are interested, but there's also many bakers who don't really know about this at all, and then they find their nodes being crashed or not upgraded and not working anymore in the next couple of weeks. So right now, and this is kind of what happens, and it's not ideal, but this is what practically happens right now, is that all the tool developers who build wallets, who build other types of supporting tools, they finally wake up and start to support the new protocol. And this is not ideal, because all the investors don't really have a chance to move their tokens when their wallets are not upgraded. So hope is that this situation becomes better in the future. So let's just have a look at past experience. When we look at two protocol upgrades, so we have one upgrade. So first of all, what the graphs show. This is the graph that measures the count of bakers who were active on a certain day. So all the bakers that have been seen being active, either, this is the green, having baked the block, like created the block, or yellow, having endorsed the block, meaning having verified that the baked block is correct. So those are the two roles that exist in Tezos. If everything works smoothly, we have almost kind of an equal number of active participants who support the progress of the blockchain. But at these protocol upgrades, what we usually see today is that many people have not upgraded, and then we have a kind of a steep drop in participants. This drop is also here. It's not as high, but kind of relatively it is kind of the same height. So it's the same amount of bakers, and also small bakers who maybe you usually only endorse, that kind of drop down. They haven't upgraded their software, and over the next couple of days, they kind of upgrade the software, but you see the levels are still lower. So meaning not everybody who used to validate on the blockchain before has really upgraded going forward. And this shows a little bit of a tiredness of people, that people are kind of tired of this process, which is the negative thing. Like people get tired of voting, but here they might also get tired of kind of upgrading over and over again. So this is also something that needs to be solved going forward. That's why this is all still a big experiment. If this will really work for the next 50 years. So actually every protocol had this pattern, so that bakers kind of broke down. And you see the same in the maximum time it takes to find a new or create a new block. This was kind of the most recent upgrade to Babylon. So the block time really kind of spiked, because there was a long period of time where no block was created. But this incident was actually not as big as the other bugs that kind of hit the network and caused outages. So the blockchain always remains stable and functional. This is actually good. Not all proof-of-stake and upgradable blockchains have this, or have achieved this. Like Cosmos broke, really, but Tezos never broke until now, which is good, which is kind of speaks of quality. And yeah, the basic goal is this you can only better by kind of improving kind of the ecosystem, talking to people, engaging everybody so that everybody really updates software early on. These bugs, they will kind of be found going forward, and there will be in the next years less and less of these disruptions. So if you want to get informed, or if you want to kind of participate in this governance process and discuss, there's a new website built by TQ Tezos that hosts a forum for discussions, and that also hosts an overview about where in the voting process the protocol currently is and what's going on, who has voted, who hasn't voted, how much or how many of these bakers still have to vote until the proposal goes live, and so on. So this is kind of the core resource to get updates on the governance process in Tezos right now. With this, I close and I hand over to Chris.